are live, guys. Hey, I gotta tell you, I had so much fun preparing this video. My name is Joseph.ONTRACC. Welcome to the Men of High Value channel. What we're gonna talk about is your ejaculation and how it relates to the impending financial crash that's coming, I would say, within the next 12 to 18 months. So we're gonna use this video to help you prepare by relating it back to your porn and masturbation addiction, and see if you can actually take control of your life from this root issue of immediate gratification in order to change your life to be prepared for that financial crash that's coming. So I'm just going to start with my personal experience of a personal financial crash. You subscribers who've been on my channel for a while know that I recently, 1 month ago, went through a bankruptcy. How did that happen? It happened simply from me having an income, fantastic, feel good, and then me thinking, but I want to feel better. So let's try to make this interesting by taking on debt. Now, the reason why I took on debt in the first place was in order to unburden my wife and to make sure that we had a little bit more money to spare so that I could have capacity to go and work and build a business. So we spend money on babysitters and money on things to kind of help her, so I didn't personally have to help her, so I could go out there and build a business. Makes sense in my head. And that produced consumption. And I didn't use that debt to build the business. I used that debt to allow me to work. So what ended up happening, debt is a fantastic thing if you know how to control yourself and use that debt not for consumption, but use it for business growth, and using that growth from the business and the income that you get from the business back into the business, not for consumption. And that's a very important aspect. And if you're not able to control yourself when it comes to getting debt, and you only use it for consumption, then you're going to have a huge problem going down the road because of the eighth wonder of the world, as Albert Einstein so neatly called it, compounding interest. You have to understand that aspect of things. When the bank puts compounding interest or interest rates on the loans, which is natural, then that exponential growth will come and you will eventually hit the wall. So what ended up happening is that I produced income, and the income was, good for the consumption. Our consumption increased, but also I was able to service the debt payments for a while. I managed to do that for approximately 2 years, or 2.5 years, and then I had a massive dip in my business from competition. So basically, other people started doing what I was doing, which was rent a van type business, and my income dropped. What do you do then when your consumption is that high and you have to service the debt payments? Then you use the government's money, right? That's what happened. And using that government's money allowed us to keep the consumption so I could keep working just as hard, still be away from my family a little bit. But I had also quit my job, so there was an extra aspect there of income not coming in. So I only had my business income. And then the compounding interest starts working against me. Suddenly, I don't have access to any credit anymore. I managed to keep it going for 1.5 years. A year later, I figure out that this is not going to work, and debts start accumulating and debts start to come in, and then come the late fees. The late fees are horrific. Very often the late fees can be worse than the interest rates, and often are. And then come the third-party collection fees. And it adds on and adds on. It's compounding. And I'm actually able to service this because I work hard and my businesses produce profit. They actually did. But it wasn't enough to produce income for a wife, 3 kids, my working, and the businesses that I was trying to get rolling and trying to get momentum. Had we doubled my transportation business last year, then we've actually would have been able to service this payments and it would have been gone after 2 years maximum. But did we manage to do that? No, we hit the wall instead. And you hit the wall and then usually comes depression. But for me, it's not depression because I was fired up about becoming bankrupt because then I could learn how it actually works, see what's going on firsthand. My wife still loves me. My kids still love me. Everything's wonderful. And, this is the lowest financially I could ever get to, really, for me to create now an exponential growth to take me out of this place, right? But how does this compare to the financial markets today? And how does it compare to your ejaculation? With the financial markets, well, let's talk about the ejaculation first. With the ejaculation, the thing is that what ends up happening is that you have sex energy. And that sex energy is your sperm production that's continual and it works for you all the time. All the time. If you don't touch it, if you don't masturbate and you don't add porn, you don't add fast women or women at all, then that production just works by itself and it's automatic and it's fantastic. It produces motivation, produces an ability to work, it produces happiness. Wonderful. But the thing is that you want to feel better than just good. You want to actually act out on this sperm production. So you don't do semen retention. Very often you don't do it because you don't know about it and you don't know the benefits and you don't know that it's actually supposed to be that way instead of the way that you're doing today, which is ejaculating multiple times a week. And when you do that, you feel good, but the masturbation and the porn is like debt and interest rates. Let me explain. You feel good and you feel better when you masturbate, and then you climax, which is the dopamine rush. With that dopamine rush, you go maybe a couple of days or maybe even the same day or the next day and you're like, oh, that was so nice with that dopamine rush. You know what? I'm going to do it again. And so you do it again and you take on more debt. And you take on more debt. And there's porn, masturbation, feels good, women, lusting after women. And he keeps on going as you now get loaded with interest rates. How does this compound? It compounds because your brain changes over time from masturbation and porn to only desire immediate gratification. One of the most important things to learn in life is patience and delayed gratification in order to produce massive long-term growth. What is one of the biggest regrets of Wolf of Wall Street, Jordan Belfort? He said in an interview with Valuetainment that the biggest regret was that I didn't have delayed gratification. I haven't seen the movie, but if you've seen the movie, you'll understand that he did not practice much delayed gratification. Very smart guy, very people skilled, all that stuff. But it was his lack of delayed gratification that got him into trouble and that could have made him millions upon millions more than he did. So, and then he's learned from those mistakes and now he has delayed gratification, created that movie and now has produced a platform for himself to grow massively. Back to your ejaculation. You now have the debt and the interest rates of porn and addiction taking over your life. And in order to feel just as good or better than you feel on a normal basis, you need to have worse and worse porn. Because you're not really turned on anymore when you masturbate. You need help in order to do it. And that's a problem. Because eventually you're like, okay, well now I want to stop. I don't want this anymore. This is becoming weird. This is not me. I want to have control over myself, but you can't get out of it. Boom. The interest rates and the debt of porn and masturbation addiction has taken over your life so massively that you just can't get out of it. This is how people feel this is how I felt when the debt had begun to become so large that it was like, when am I ever going to pay this down? Fortunately, as a business owner, I know I can pay it down over just a few years' time simply from producing fantastic businesses. But if I was an employee, I would never get out of that. It's time to get out of the porn and masturbation addiction with semen retention, to rewire your brain for delayed gratification. How does that relate to the financial markets? What's happened, people, is that people are comparing themselves to other people. And they're making money, it feels good, but they want to get to the higher statuses and higher levels of the people who have been years in the industry. And so they try to take shortcuts, and the best way to take a shortcut is to get more money in. And they do that through debt. So when you get that inflow of cash, now you can build more business, hopefully. But very often the thing that happens is that you start using more for your own consumption. Yes, you build a business and you're making money, so you think that that money is going to last forever, so you spend it all instead of actually preparing for the future. So you keep building your business, the income grows, and your assets grow. And so you now are like, yeah, but it would feel even better if I could have even more income. And so you take on more debt. But the thing is, if you don't know what you're doing and you're lax about learning your industry, and you don't have that inner growth that's necessary in order to succeed in any industry that will provide you success, people will beat you. The competition will beat you down. And you take on more debt in order to service the consumption and try to build your business more. And eventually, you come to the level where you're making lots and lots of money. But you also have lots and lots of debt. What happens if the interest rates go up? What happens if they go up a lot? Because that's what the governments have to do in order to contract the economy. When people no longer can service the debt payments because the debts have grown too large compared to the income, then we get into trouble. And that's the impending doom of the fight. Giving it out for free. So go to Bridgewater.com, which is his company, and download that book if you are one of those guys who love to learn about history, love to learn about how things work. Because he will help you understand that, yes, there is an impending financial crisis. And also another one, subscribe to another YouTube channel called Alessio Rastani, Leading Trainer. It's fantastic in terms of analysis and understanding the stock market. And he explains and keeps you updated all the time on what is happening to the markets when it comes to the inverted yield curve, blah, blah, blah. Point is, this has everything to do with your porn addiction and ejaculation, because you feel good and then you masturbate and you ejaculate, and then that increases your sperm production of your desire to feel even better and to feel more good and to feel more good, until that debt takes over your life and you can no longer do the payments that are necessary through productivity, and you've lost your freedom. Eventually, now you come to the depressed cycle, where you either get out of that depression or stay there forever because you got beaten so hard you don't know how to get back up. Is that where you're going to be? Or are you going to pick yourself up and figure it out and be led by other people to take you to the land of your dreams? Or even better, are you going to prepare yourself for the financial crisis by becoming a leader, by understanding business, by understanding life, by understanding women, going through phase 2 or stage 2 that I called the video yesterday? Fantastic video yesterday. Go back and check it out, because you're going to learn a lot about the 3 stages of life of diversification, focus, and then massive abundance. Understand those principles and you will be prepared for the financial crisis. The rich people who understand these things are excited about the financial crash. And the reason why is not because it's going to affect so many people negatively, which it will, but because there's so much profit that can be made during that time because people are selling all their stuff, all their assets for half price. This is when rich people finally get their half price discounts that they've been waiting for. And they go out there and they use a bathtub in order to have, when the gold rains, like Warren Buffett says it, use a bathtub to collect it instead of just a small little cup. Prepare yourself and start with semen retention because it will reframe your mind for delayed gratification. This is the Men of High Value channel. Make sure you like, make sure you comment. It really helps the YouTube algorithm. And I will see you again tomorrow.